This video is going to touch on what happens when oxygen isn't present in a cell, and what is fermentation. All right, fermentation. This allows for the creation of small amounts of ATP when oxygen is not present. So I've hit the point home a couple of times now that glycolysis is a precursor to respiration. Well, here's why that's important. Glycolysis can continue even in an anaerobic situation. Cellular respiration is an aerobic process. It has to have oxygen. Glycolysis does not have to have oxygen. The reason respiration needs oxygen is because it uses it in that last step to make water. And if that oxygen isn't there, it's kind of like a backup effect. Like no oxygen's at the end, so it's like a train wreck. And nothing else can continue because that ATP synthase is stuck, not being able to produce any ATP. So fermentation begins to happen when oxygen is not present. And it replenishes NADH. So I told you NADH is a little more stable than ATP. It's a nice calm electron carrier, whereas ATP is like, I want to get rid of my energy. So NADH is a nice calm molecule that holds electrons. So there are two types of fermentation. I think once we start kind of diving into them, you'll realize, oh, I am familiar with both of those. So lactate fermentation is what causes lactic acid buildup in your muscles. It makes your muscles sore. So let's say you've just run the mile for your presidential fitness test in PE class, and your muscles start to get really sore. That's because there wasn't quite enough oxygen getting to those muscles, and so lactic acid started to build up. Glycolysis continued, but there was no oxygen, so we couldn't make ATP through cellular respiration. So glycolysis just started making lactate or lactic acid. The other type of fermentation is called alcoholic fermentation. This is used to make wine, beer, yogurt, breads, even anything with yeast. Yeast is a little teeny organism that will actually do alcoholic fermentation. And instead of ATP being made from glycolysis, it's made into ethanol. So you can see both of those through this process. So glycolysis is happening here, and then instead of pyruvate being made into or taken into the Krebs cycle, it's produced using NADH into ethanol and carbon dioxide. And here, pyruvate is made into lactate or lactic acid rather than going into the Krebs cycle.